Good Monday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Jacob Wycoff, joined by our executive weather producer, Terry Eliasen. Terry, thanks so much for joining us.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, indeed.
We're back. We haven't done this in a little bit.
It has been a couple of days.
Yes. Well,
maybe
we took the
like
summer off.
Yeah, exactly. As most of you enjoyed your summer vacation, we're back at it as well.
Yeah.
Terry and I are going to start doing these more and more often. We're going to aim for Monday around 11 a.m. These are our weather talks, and so anything that's going on, whether it's weather or space or science-y, this is the place to join us. Terry, let's hop right into it. It has been amazing.
Yeah, I mean, so these talks are meant to kind of get you ready for the week. Like, what do you need to know weather-wise? Is there something flying overhead? Is there a meteor shower?
Right.
Or whatever. But, I mean, the story this week has got to be the amazing weather. I don't know about you, but I thoroughly enjoyed this past weekend.
Yeah.
It was just beyond delightful. Whether you're apple picking, whether you're out at the soccer fields, whatever you were doing this weekend, fall festivals are starting to pop up now.
Yep.
It's just like, it's my favorite time of year. Indulging in all the pumpkin beverages.
To be fair, that's usually July for you. You start getting into the pumpkin stuff.
Yes, whenever I see it in the store. But nonetheless, this is when it really feels right.
100%. I did the talk with Jim Salgi a little bit ago. He's our fall foliage expert, Yankee Foliage, and I think newengland.com, I believe, is the website he writes for. He said that foliage is amazing, but it's a backdrop for everything else.
That's right.
Right?
It
So
sort of
like
sets
you
the
said,
scene.
exactly, yeah. So it has been amazing, and it's going to continue to be amazing. One concern we have, unfortunately, is that it has been so dry that we're starting to get into a little bit of abnormally dry situations popping up.
Yeah, so I'll speak for myself. So there's been 19 straight dry days in Boston. You go back to, I think it was August 20th was the last time we actually had a measurable rainfall in Boston. So that's a long time. 19 straight days is actually the longest consecutive dry streak since 1999. So that's significant.
25 years.
Right. I myself am not concerned about drought. And if you look at the drought monitor from last week, there was really no signs of it.
Yep.
We had so much rain over the winter, early spring, even part of the early summer. We're really doing okay as far as drought goes. But obviously, if this were to continue for the next several weeks and months, there could be a concern. But I'm more than happy to spend most of the fall in dry, sunny, comfortable weather.
September making a run for the best month of the year.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It's always at the top of the list. But I think that when you have full, I guess at this point, 25 straight days at this point, 19 straight, the driest stretch in 25 years, I mean, that speaks for itself.
It's a good time to have a dry. It would much rather be this time of year than, say, January. You know, who cares about 25 dry days in January?
Right.
Now, the interesting thing is, really, our best shot at rain for the next several days is coming this evening. If we do not get any rain tonight, and I think there'll be a few showers, but if I were making a bet, it's probably going to be dry in most areas. So if we don't get any rain tonight, that makes 20 straight days. And then you got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, certainly look dry. You see that just a very weak area low pressure coming through tonight with a couple sprinkles. And then it's high and dry again, high pressure overhead for the next several days. I think there's another shot at a shower Friday.
Yeah.
But it's not much. And next weekend right now is looking great. There's not bad news by any means, but if we could easily add on several more days, maybe even another week to this the dry stretch.
And it's not only a dry stretch here, but we've had somewhat of a dry stretch when it comes to the tropics. Now, they are heating up, not unheard of this time of year. Yeah. We're at September 9th, rather. So that means that peak is tomorrow.
Right.
And it's been fairly quiet, knock on wood somewhere, right? And this time of year, we always talk like, goodness, I hope it's another year that we in New England avoid a landfall. Thus far, it has been quiet for us. We had that little disturbance off the coast over the weekend, churning up the seas, but there's only one storm that we're really watching at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the forecast, if you listen back in June and July, the forecast was for a very active season. And so far, it's been sort of average. We're on the letter F in the alphabet, so Francine would be the next one up. And Jacob's pulling up the current satellite imagery right now. There is a disturbance in the Gulf of Mexico.
Looks like we do have Francine.
Oh, breaking news.
Breaking news as of 5 minutes ago.
Tropical Storm Francine.
Tropical Storm Francine has formed in the Gulf of Mexico, just off the eastern coastline of Mexico, and it's expected to become a tropical Category 1 storm and move towards Lake Charles, Louisiana over the coming
Yeah,
like
I believe
48
landfall
hours or
is
so.
expected like Wednesday night and
Yep.
early Thursday morning. There's never really good news with a landfalling hurricane. However, this one is there's not a lot of time over open water. So
Yeah.
those waters in the Gulf of Mexico are very warm. So it'll intensify pretty quickly, but it doesn't really have enough time to strengthen beyond a Category 1, maybe minimal Category 2, before it makes landfall in Louisiana late Wednesday night. So that's sort of the good news with this one is it's a quick former. It's already a tropical storm, probably a hurricane by tomorrow, but it's
Yep.
making landfall Wednesday night.
Yes, so there it is. Breaking news on our weather show. We still need a name for this place.
We sure do.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. So there you have that part.
So yeah, so that hurricane, just in case there are any concerns about, will it affect New England's weather? Again, landfall in Louisiana Wednesday night, and it's really going to slowly meander northward up through like the Mississippi River Valley for the rest of the week. Not really making much progress, and it could even be by late this week or in the weekend, its remnants are still just sort of spinning around in the middle of the country. We are really lucky. We're protected by this area of high pressure, this dome that's been over us, and sort of keeps reinforcing itself over the last couple of weeks.
It loses a little strength, but then it quickly strengthens up once again.
Yep.
Terry, you were mentioning that storm. That's moving through the Gulf of Mexico on the graphics here, and then watch as it just gets protected. The high pressure is our wall, it's our protector, and it just kind of gets squashed out of here. And so another reinforcing shot of high pressure builds in from Canada. So largely dry.
Yeah, and I would imagine that somewhere down through the Gulf of Mexico, through the Mississippi River Valley, there's going to be some pretty decent rainfall.
Yeah.
With that thing just sitting and spinning all week long.
Feeding off the Gulf.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be some, even in the southeastern part of the U.S., you can see an extension of that over, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. So definitely a wet and cloudy week down there, but up here, it's high and dry. The one other thing that's going on, so this time of year, obviously, we're thinking about good things. Here comes the oh no.
The bad news.
Here comes the bad news. Look at that, September 11th, which is Wednesday, 7 p.m. sunset.
Yep.
And that's the end. Unfortunately, that's the last 7 p.m. sunset we'll see until next spring.
Right. So September and October, they share the distinct title of losing the most daylight. They're tied with 1 hour and 20 minutes or so of daylight lost each month. So add them together, you're talking almost 3 hours worth of daylight we lose over those 2 months. Not great.
That's significant.
But that's also why we get the beautiful colors. We get those shorter days, the sunnier afternoons, the cooler mornings.
Yeah.
That's why we get the beautiful colors.
Yeah, for me, it's a double-edged sword. I love this time of year.
Yeah.
But when it starts to, you're driving home and the sun is setting, it's like, oh man, I just want that extra hour, at home to go for a walk or do whatever. But starting on Thursday, the sun will be setting before 7 p.m. And then, as you can see, as we get into October, we start getting, the sunsets are also getting later, 7 a.m. It starts to go quickly.
Yeah, 2 minutes and 45 seconds per day we're losing of daylight.
Yeah.
So
I feel like we've brought the whole. We were talking about
just zapped all the energy.
But again, like you said, this is what makes the foliage start to burst. We get these warm days, these crisp, clear nights. And I don't know if you have the fall foliage map readily available, but there's really not much started yet. Even if you look around town locally, if you have some low-lying areas, some like the swampy areas, there's probably a few things turning, but we're a couple weeks away from like the real wave.
Yeah. So it starts mid to late September as you go into, well, I should say it peaks mid to late September in northern New England. And then as we go over the next 4 to 5, 6 weeks, that wall of color sweeps across central and then southern New England. Jim Salgi, our fall foliage expert, mentioned to me, he goes, Boston is such a hidden gem when it comes to foliage because we have such greenery around us. People travel to the whites and the greens, which is great. You always find that fall festival or that little town hidden. But he said Boston's a great place to go too, with all the color, and it's last. Usually, the shoreline of Connecticut and Boston are usually the last places.
Usually right around the end of the latter half of September, you get that one last burst in the city.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, so and all indications, you spoke with the foliage expert himself, all indications are for a really good year, right?
Great year, yeah. If not, maybe starting a little bit earlier. So we say mid to late September, maybe just mid-September for that peak as you go into northern New England. So you're talking within the next week, we should see an explosion.
I wonder though, given the forecast this week, the high temperature, maybe throw up a 7-day or that 5-day temperature. we're forecasting highs in the 80s starting around Wednesday and heading into the weekend. So that's a little bit warm for foliage.
Yeah.
I wonder if that streak alone might delay it. Again,
a little
it was
bit,
scheduled to be ahead of schedule. If we get these warmer days, it might sort of hold things off a little bit.
Yep.
But I mean,
those morning lows too really help in the 40s and 50s. But yeah, you're right. With the afternoon, I mean, these are almost summer-like temperatures.
yeah, I mean, I think the average this year, or this time of year, is 75, 76. So
Yep.
we're talking 10 degrees above average, Thursday, Friday, and perhaps into the weekend as well. So I don't think anybody's upset about this.
No, not
forecast.
at all.
But for foliage, if you're thinking about heading up north, I doubt there'll be much to see this weekend. You're probably looking at least the following weekend before things start to go.
Right.
But that's okay.
That is okay, yeah. We love fall foliage around here, so if you have any pictures, send those on into us. If you're doing some exploring, we love sharing them each and every day, really. We'll get a new picture from a place in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, locally here in Massachusetts. Send those on into us. Tweet them. Find a way to find their way to us, because we'll definitely share those.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the easiest Monday morning talks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's all we got. Like, there's literally nice weather.
Yep.
Sun setting earlier, and a full foliage season on the way. Again, the hurricane nationally. Tropical Storm Francine, which soon to be Hurricane Francine, will become the story this week. So nationally speaking, we'll be following that. But luckily here in New England and in the Northeast, probably won't even see a drop from it. So
yeah,
that's what we got.
Very good. We appreciate everyone tuning in to our weather chat. We'll have more of these. If there are any topics that you want Terry and I to discuss, find our email address on the website. We'd be happy to talk about those as much as possible. Any closing thoughts?
No, I would just say enjoy this weather while you can.
Yeah.
As we said, with the shorter days coming, before you know it, I hate to say it, but before you know it, the seasons will be a change and leaves will be falling and we'll be into darkness, descending into darkness. No, the next several weeks really should be the best of the year weather-wise, and it's again the long-range forecast is for not just to warm up later this week, but maybe some warmer times as we head into mid to late September.
Yeah.
But again, we're on the clock is ticking this time of year.
The clock is ticking indeed. Hopefully we can get a frost. I'll close with that. Hopefully we can get a frost just to get rid of some of this mosquito threat.
Yes.
Like a good solid frost for a good bit
I don't
of
think
us.
it's coming for a little bit. But
it's not coming for a while.
That would be nice to eradicate that.
Yeah.
Agreed, yeah.
But otherwise, enjoy this nice sunny stretch. If you get a couple of raindrops, consider yourself a bit lucky, because we don't have any more in the forecast for the next 10 days or so.
Yeah, keep an eye out tonight. If we don't get any measurable rain tonight in Boston, that streak could become one of the longest streaks in Boston's recorded history.
37 days is the next longest, right?
Yes, 1999.
Okay.
Now that's a ways off.
Right.
But again, we could reach top 10 longest streaks if we don't get any rain tonight.
Pretty
Sneaking
incredible.
into record books. Yeah.
Pretty incredible to think of. All right, everyone, appreciate you tuning in on this Monday morning. We'll have much more next week. We'll see if the forecast changes maybe a little bit next week.